Welcome to Muddy River News this week. I'm Bob Goff. Jim Rapp has been a practicing attorney in Quincy and Adams County, and actually the area, for over 50 years. And during that same amount of time, he's also been the general counsel for John Wood Community College, basically at the school's inception. Jim recently announced he was taking a bit of a step back from that, but it's really hard to see him slowing down. Plus, we've got plenty of things for him to do here at Muddy River News, and we'll get into that. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
As I said, Jim is one of the three partners we have in the ownership of Muddy River News, but I mostly want to talk about his legal career and his commitment to John Wood Community College. A couple of weeks ago we had the event where you received the Pathfinder Award, and I had some conversations with a lot of the people who, of course, you worked with over the years, Mike Elby amongst them, and basically just said, if gave you a lot of credit for John Wood would not be where it is today without you. So I just want to remind you. I know you heard that a lot the other night. I just want to say it one more time.
Well, thank you.
And with the college moving to 48th and Harrison, what is that your proudest moment in your association with John Wood?
The fact that they are at that campus is one of the proudest moments, but I would say my whole representation of John Wood Community College is probably one of the highlights of my career. I've gotten many highlights over the years. I've represent and still represent many great families and people and businesses, but of things where I've made a difference, John Wood Community College is probably the highlight.
And one of the things we did, you and Martha, along with some help from Mary Teakin, really spearheaded the commemorative book that we put together on the college. And I think one of the things when I was reading through it and kind of going through it, and then at the end again, was the fact, and it was mentioned again that that was not an easy lift because, let's face it, a lot of people did not want the school there at the time.
That's right. And I do commend Martha for all the work she put in that book. It was not just a project to do, but one that she was very heartfelt because of the history of John Wood Community College, the involvement of her father, Ray Bruni, in the community college movement. But yes, you are right. There were lots of peaks and valleys in the history of John Wood Community College. I sometimes tell the story about being in court one day and a judge summoning me to his office, and I went into his office not knowing what he wanted. He spent 5 minutes haranguing me about John Wood Community College, that we didn't need it, we didn't want it, all it would do is raise taxes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And finally I said, Judge, I'm just the lawyer. And he looked at me, pointed his finger, and said, Mr. Rapp, the fish stinks from the head to the tail. That experience kind of synthesizes the attitude toward John Wood Community College at the beginning. But today I consider it one of the most important assets of our community.
I totally agree. Not only the fact that it's offered a lot of people who otherwise perhaps could not have afforded college, especially those who did and went on to four-year programs. As mentioned many times, all three of our children went through John Wood. But also the fact of the career technical aspect of it, which has really blossomed. The truck driver training program, welding, all those kinds of programs that really give young people an opportunity to really choose their path.
That's exactly right. Community colleges, and John Wood, interestingly, was the first, quote, community college. Up till then, they were called junior colleges. Right. And it was the first, what they call comprehensive community colleges, which was aimed at providing baccalaureate-type programs to lead to a four-year institution, to also provide workforce development or practical vocational programs, and finally to provide community interest programs. That's what a comprehensive community college, but we don't realize that John Wood actually was the first that fell into that new category of community colleges.
And also, as far as your career goes, again, I said you're taking a step back from that, but you are not yet retiring as an attorney, true?
That's right. I'm not retiring as an attorney. I'm, as I like to say to Martha, I'm redirecting, refocusing. I'm one of those guys that has lots to do, lots of interest, plenty of excitement, but my goal is I picture myself as, for John Wood Community College, a book that you can now put on the shelf. If you need help, if you need some research, if you need some background, pull out the book, and I'm available in here. But I'm focusing, frankly, on my estate and trust planning and administration practice as I move forward with my career. I love mentoring young lawyers, which we have several at the Schmiedes Camp firm. And I also enjoy many other things, among them Muddy River News.
And we're gonna get into that in a second. But you brought up the point about the young lawyers, which in my chat earlier this month with the Chief Justice of the Missouri Supreme Court, Mary Russell, I brought this up because you and I have had this conversation several times about the lack of getting younger attorneys to rural areas. And, she talked about legal deserts, much like we have news deserts, and Muddy River News has sort of come in to step in a breach here, but also the legal deserts we have out here. But it seems, we've had, Schmiedes Camp, I know, has added some. A couple of the other firms have added some. But you were also a group at one time. There were, 5 or 6 of you who all came in about 50 years ago, right?
That's right. The year that I came, there was, in addition to myself, Judge Wollahan, Drew Snock, Jim Palmer started practicing here that year, Bill Keller, and then the next year or two, Sind Avercamp. So that is the core group. You don't seem to see that anymore. People want to move to the larger communities, the larger cities. They think that provides them lots of opportunity. They've kind of forgotten just how wonderful living in a town like Quincy is, or this complete area, Hannibal, Quincy area, really is, and how rewarding it is and provides a work-life balance that you'll never have in some of these larger communities. I don't know how we can attract more people to Quincy, but we ought to.
Yeah, we've, in looking at that, I know they've had the programs, they've tried to incentivize people, and we've done some research and working on, sales tax revenues, and so they're kind of trickling up a little bit, but still, the population's been dropping for a while, and local leaders really need to focus on how to attract and incentivize. And I know we've got a lot of good things coming. The Amazon Fulfillment Center is going to be a really nice thing, and then there's a couple of other industries. But I think for the law firms such as Schmiedes Camp and some of the others, if they want to survive and thrive, they're going to have to keep on recruiting and bringing in younger people. And again, you have done that with a few people I've seen coming in.
The same goes with accounting firms too.
Yeah.
It's not just
I'm sure doctors, I'm sure the whole practice, professional services, I'm sure it's all.
And something that you are seeing now, which has been, frankly, relatively new, is that some groups or areas of practice, they're trying to reach out and grab onto others' lawyers. And that's new and unusual.
Yeah, poaching, if you will.
That's a nice way to put it.
Not a nice way to put it. You also, again, as I mentioned in the beginning, you brought up Muddy River News, and I do want the fact that you are scaling back in your legal career a bit. But Jim, I've got to, for those who don't know it, we would not be here doing this if it wasn't for Jim, because it was Jim who came to me, along with Mike Kinshriff, who came to me and said, would you be interested in doing this? And at this time, I thought I was a retired journalist and becoming a political consultant. But then after a talk with my wife, Jim and I both have a lot of things in common, but one thing is we both have very smart wives who usually make our better decisions for us, to give this a shot, and here we are almost 4 years later. So your advice and counsel is always appreciated. It's always welcome, and I know you joke that I only use about 30% of your ideas, but I said if you hit 300, you're going to go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but I'm not going to stop coming up with the ideas.
No, please do, because a lot of them are like, wow, that's really, I hadn't thought of that, or what have you. And I think that's what makes us really work well together, but also with the entire staff, is that we try to kind of have this open door, open book, and we try a lot of things. And your support and Mike's support's enabled us to do that, to bring in younger reporters, because when we first started, it was just a bunch of old guys. Not you. I'm talking about me and David and all the other people who came in, but bringing in the younger people to kind of help bolster that and get a more diverse audience, because we talk a lot about diversity in Quincy, and it's very tough because we do have smaller minority populations, but to try to have a diversity of thought in people from different age groups and everything, that's very important. And
Muddy River News has to be vibrant.
Yeah.
It has to be flexible and changeable. And I've told you before, you're coming up with ideas, I'm coming up with ideas, and I kind of look at the situation somewhat biblically. We'll let the weeds and the wheat grow up together, and we'll call it out later on. But let's see what works. Let's see what tries, because that's what we need, in my mind, in the news business.
I think that you look at this, and again, if we had just said, okay, we're just going to take the newspaper and slap it on the internet, we wouldn't have lasted a year. But by doing the different things, like all of the podcasts and all of the long form interviews and the videos we put on, and really being interactive and engaging with people, I think that's really been the key to our success. Again, it couldn't have been done without your help and Jim's help and Mike's help and everything. But I think for us to do this, to come up with all of these ideas, and again, let's throw stuff against the wall, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it doesn't make money yet, maybe it's going to make money soon, and we see that the pits and valleys and cycles of revenue and things like that. But to sit here and say, okay, when you and I talked about this almost 4 years ago, we're farther along doing this now than I ever thought we would have been back then.
I think we agree. And keep in mind, it's Mike and me and you, but as you said, our spouses, Martha and Ellen, have played a very, very key and supportive role.
Both Ellens, because Mike and I our wives share the same name. So
that's right.
But yeah, I think it's that whole family aspect of it, to have people who I think everybody except Shane Halsey, our sports guy, are all really area natives.
That's right.
Shane went as a Quincy University graduate, though. But everybody else, from Randy Phillips helping us with production, with the new people we brought in. And again, in my past life as being a news director and hiring students from out of town and trying to figure out how to keep them, it was a lot easier to keep them if they already had roots planted here.
But you don't look beyond the University of Missouri.
Well, I don't have to, but I do. I said Shane Halsey, Quincy University. There you go.
Okay, you brought it up a little
Jim
bit.
went to the University of Illinois Journalism School, which is fine.
As did my wife, Martha, and that's where we actually met.
It's a fine journalism
school.
It's just not the University of Missouri Journalism School, which is gold standard. But hey.
Oh, that's for another debate.
And then, of course, Washington University is where you got your law degree. There's a few WashU lawyers around town, aren't there?
Yes, there are.
So that's also a very good law school as well. I had a nephew who went through there. So, but in looking at the future of Muddy River News, as you again coming in, what would you like to do more of with us as you wind down that legal practice? Because we're making room for you.
Oh, that's good. Well, one thing that a comparison between John Wood and Muddy River News that people might not be sensitive to immediately is flexibility and spontaneity. I used to say to Paul Heath, the first president, I said one thing that John Wood did do is it had virtual SWAT teams. There was a problem, they went to deal with it, worked with employers and others, students, groups, or whatever, and met the need. That's really what Muddy River News is trying to do, is we're trying to reach out and meet needs as they arise and as they exist. And, we have ideas that, we are exploring and will continue to explore. And I want to emphasize, we thank the sponsors, the advertisers, and those who have spontaneously supported Muddy River News. Without that, we wouldn't exist.
No, our readership numbers are very strong. I attended a conference in Chicago of independent publishers back in September, and when I told people what we were doing, not only revenue-wise but also readership-wise, and they're like, "Wow!" And you're only X years old.
Just the IP people who've touched Muddy River News. What's the number?
Well, this last year it's 1.8 million, but since we started, probably 3.
Yeah,
who've at least looked at the site one time or another. Yeah. And again, that's IP addresses, so you got phones, you got pads, you got whatever. But still, you look at that much impact and that much of a difference. It's pretty sizable. And I look at people who have social media accounts and try to do things, and they have 10 followers and they try to rah or whatever. But not only with the millions of people who read Muddy River News, we've also got a Facebook account, a Facebook page that's got 26,000 followers. We've also, through YouTube, through Twitter, or X, whatever you call it now, Blue Sky, the newest one, and Instagram, and we're getting into TikTok, bringing in the younger people to help us get our TikTok thing going. It's before it gets banned or whatever, I guess. So, but in trying to do that is we try to reach out, and again, I stress that social media is for us merely the platform and access. We want you to come onto the website because that's where the content is. That's where our advertisers have their ads, and we do specials with them, and we'll go to their restaurants or go to whatever, but we want them to come home to Muddy River News. It's great if you see stuff on social media, great, but come to the website, give us that visit and those eyeballs there, because that's what really has the impact. And we're not going to charge you for it either.
Well, yeah, we've had that discussion, and people ask that constantly. When are you going to have a paywall? We're not. Yeah. If the community doesn't want to support this, if advertisers don't want to support it, it won't exist. That's pure and simple. Yeah. Not that Quincyans and Hannibalians are frugal, but they are.
Right.
And there's just too many options to get material and information. But local news where you can go in and talk to the reporter, talk to the person who wrote the story, talk to people who you can give ideas about stories and tips. That's the future. And we want to be on board with that. And frankly, we have been on board with that. And thank you for those who are supporting us. And
one more time, just thank you and Martha and then Mike and Ellen and my Ellen for everything you've done to help us make this a reality. And again, it's something that 4 years ago when we talked about it, it's like, let's see if this thing flies. Well, I think it's flying.
I agree. You were a little hesitant at first. I called you, can you get back to me in a couple of weeks?
I was busy. I was trying to get a guy elected mayor.
Well, that's beside the point. But I will say we would not be here today and as successful as we are without you, Bob. I want you to know that.
Thank you.
I don't know that anyone else could have done what you've done, and you deserve to be truly commended, even with the ups and downs and the peaks and valleys and things like that, because you've provided leadership. Not only that, you've been a magnet for some of those old journalists.
Yeah.
And they seem to be thriving. Now, we don't have the smoke-filled press rooms and all that kind of stuff, but nonetheless, we've got something better here.
Yeah, no smoking in here. I remember when I first started in the business, and there were people who'd smoked in the television newsroom, and I just thought that was awful. But
now we smell the electronics today.
We got cords burning and things like that. So, well, Jim, anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I look forward to more success and collaboration with you in the future as your legal career. Not gone yet. He's still there. He's still helping his clients, but he's going to come help us a little bit more.
Now, you ready for those other half dozen ideas?
Bring them on, sir. All right, that's all the time we have for now. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week.